Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults,
and beer.
And beer, although it looks like you're drinking a frickin' seltzer.
It may as well be soda. I mean, it's like 3% alcohol, and it's just wild berry flavored with other natural flavors. I'm not sure what those are, but, you know.
Well, okay. Well, let everybody know what's going on, because obviously if you're listening on audio, not video, you're like, that's not Sandra. Don't worry, everybody. Sandra hasn't quit the show. She is on vacation right now. And what I'm doing is I am bringing in my buddy Kevin. He's been on another podcast that lasted a while, but that podcast faded, and he has started a new one called History Goon. And so we're gonna. He's taking the lead on this episode. He's going to tell me a story and promote his new podcast. And I've heard the first episode, and I think y'all are going to like it. Yes. So Kevin, tell us about your podcast.
So the new show that I'm doing is called History Goon, as you said. Excuse me. I'm a big history nerd. It's basically the only topic that towards the tail end of my old show, I'm like, I don't really want to do cryptids or true crime or anything like that. Not that I don't like true crime, but I just kind of burned myself out on it with a lot of stuff that we did. And I'm like, I just want to do history. I want to talk about crazy people that did just wild shit. So that's what I'm going to do. And I've got a fairly extensive library of assorted history stuff that I want to cover. I was actually flipping through my topic list here, and I've got, oh my goodness, let's see. I haven't released an episode yet, and I have 342 topics that I want to cover, and I'm assuming that I will end up adding more to that as I go. But
well, I kind of have like several hundred topic ideas. You know, all I have to do is scroll through the Parcast serial killers. Or the Colts one.
Yeah. And it's weird because there's another show that I listen to pretty frequently called Let Them Fight, which is
I love that show.
Fantastic show. And every once in a while I'm like, damn it, I got to add that to the list too, but I'm not going to cover it as well as them because they are fucking hilarious.
Yeah, they are.
And like, I would highly recommend it unless you are very, very sensitive, then you probably don't want to listen to it because they don't pull punches with jokes and stuff. They
do not.
It's pretty brutal, and I love it. I'm here for it.
But there's a free plug for Let Them Fight. So
absolutely.
But yeah, I recently found them, and I'm going through there. I'm going through it looking for the stories that I know. Once I get through all of them, then I'll start listening to the ones that I don't know.
I think I picked them up at about episode 20. And they're well over 500 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I picked them up about a month and a half ago.
So once you start getting into like the newer stuff that they've recorded over the last like year or so, at the tail end of episodes, they do Spotify comments because you can go on Spotify and leave comments on episodes and stuff. That's one of my favorite parts of the show because I'm just like, I want to hear the reaction that I get because I have to comment on all of them because, I work by myself usually and I'm listening to them and I go, I'm kind of a smart ass. I'm going to see if I can get a reaction out of these guys. And occasionally you do.
Nobody comments on Spotify. I think I've gotten one, maybe two comments on Spotify. I've only gotten 2 comments on Apple. So light them up. And one was, one said that we were monotone, boring and monotone. Chi Marie 13. I don't know. People comment on the YouTube page, but I don't know.
My favorite review that we ever got for Dark Windows was 1 star. Tried it once, won't again. I was like, shit, yeah, I want to put that on a t-shirt. That was great. But a lot of it was one of these guys doesn't know how to read, and he sounds like he does all of his research from Wikipedia. And I'm like, I know that's not me, but shit. And my former co-host took that very very personally. I'm like, dude, you can't take internet trolls personally, or you're never gonna survive. You just gotta let it roll.
When Paul was on the show, we did the Marriotts versus Melvins, and Jimmy Melvin, Canadian gangster. He actually found the YouTube page of his episode, and he basically said that we sucked.
I still think one of my favorite ones was David from Macabre Emporium. He did an episode of on Helgi Meyer, the guy that with the God's Camaro that was going through like Bosnia, that giant bulletproof Camaro, and like delivering food and stuff.
Yeah, he told that story when he took over CKCB.
Yeah, and he's like, he messaged me and he goes, "Dude, he liked my page," and I went, "That's fucking awesome! Yes, like that's so cool." My goal is to make enough Sabaton references on the new show that eventually they're just like, "Hey, maybe stop." Like, okay. Give me rights to instrumentals to one of your songs, and I'll stop talking about you. I promise.
No, they like it.
Mm-hmm.
But
oh shit,
the algorithm doesn't like it, but they like it.
No.
Yeah,
you can't use this. You didn't pay for it.
Right. It really sucks because I mean you came on when we did the Attack of the Dead Men and everything. It would have been nice to play a clip of that song, but we couldn't do it because the episode would have gotten copyright claimed.
Right. But
Sabaton wouldn't have cared.
No, they'd have been like, all right, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Was that an episode that you released on Patreon, or was that just a regular feed episode?
No, it was. We had originally done it on Patreon. I had done that one with Todd.
Okay.
But then when Paul became the co-host, I decided to just do that one. Do that one with Paul. Bring you in and release that as a regular episode. So it's on the feed. I don't have my Patreon page is non-existent right now. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, we had I think the highest we ever got on there was like 8 people. Like at that point is like, is it really worth putting out over 150 episodes?
We had 2 subscribers. That was it.
But the problem there is it's like then you feel bad because you're like, they're paying for it. I got to put something out,
Mm-hmm.
And they want it to be decent quality at least. But
yeah, I just got to figure out what I mean, I want to do a Patreon. I just got to figure out what the hell I want to do with it because I don't want to. It's just like okay. Let's just say I release. I've got this exclusive interview with somebody. And I'm going to put that on Patreon. Well, that's not fair to my regular listeners,
right?
Maybe not. For whatever reason, they're not on Patreon or whatever. So it's just like I got to figure out what kind of content I want to do on the Patreon before I started again. Anyway, we've been digressing for a while.
Oh, shit, yeah. Well over an hour at this point.
Well, we've been recording for almost 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So let's get into this.
Let's do it.
What do you got for us?
So this week, since you're a Florida guy and I'm not a Florida guy, right. I'm gonna talk about something that we covered on my old show. That as we were talking, I was like, I bet this kind of fits right in because it's obviously it's a crime because of where we're headed with it. We're going to talk about the FBI Miami shootout.
And I'm not aware of that case. I'm not. I once you start talking about it, I might be like, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. But at this point, I have no clue what you're talking about.
So this was April 11th, 1986. So it was a minute ago. I'm assuming you're like permanent Florida guy. You've been there forever.
I'm a native.
Yeah. So this would you were probably like still like close to a kid at this point though, right?
86. I was 13.
Oh damn. Okay. You don't. It makes you feel any better. You don't look that old.
Thanks.
So this was a year before I was born. And I was like, oh shit. So, and the reason I wanted to do this one originally is because the first true crime thing that I clearly remember seeing, like as a child, was the North Hollywood bank shootout, and I was like 10 when that happened. And I remember watching that on the news and be like, "This is crazy." And as we were doing the show, I was like, I want to find other stuff like that because I'd already done that. And I'm like, this one is wild. So best place to start is probably right at the beginning. Let's talk about our bad guys. We have William Russell Matix and Michael Lee Platt. These two guys were brought together by their military service and some shared tragedies that we'll go into that would lead them to go on a spree of robberies that ended with a shootout resulting in nearly 200 rounds being fired between them and the police.
Where did this take place?
Miami.
Okay, I thought that's what you said, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, and as we get closer, I have exact locations, so you might even some folks out there may recognize them, because I'm pretty sure some of these banks that they hit are closed and they've become other things since. And it's been like 2 years since I've looked at the the notes for it. But
well, there's no bank that exists right now that existed back in the 80s.
That's true. Bank of America, maybe, but
no.
Oh, really?
No. Bank of America. Shit. Bank of America came out in like the late 80s, early 90s, and basically started absorbing everything else. They're like the Borg.
All your accounts have become ours.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Like they took over Barnett Bank in Florida.
My current bank has changed names 4 times in the last 3 years, so I get it.
I'm a member of a credit union.
Yeah, same, and it's changed. It's changed a couple of times. Like, can we just stop? I'm sick of having to redo my fucking information every time you guys change your name.
Well, I don't think they're gonna change the name of this one because, well, there's an amphitheater named after it.
Oh, fair enough.
And if anybody in Florida, yeah, they know exactly who I bank with now.
So anyway. I should probably lead off by saying I had kind of a hard time finding any background for these pair of shitheads. Only real information was from a FOIA thing that I found. Remember correctly, it was like a 19 or 20 page document, and it didn't really even have any background on these guys. It was just about the event, and that's where I got a lot of the detail from. But let's start off with William Russell Matix. He's born June 25th, 1951 in Lewisburg, Ohio. Growing up, he had a speech impediment, and I'm going to make fun of it because I have to. I wouldn't make fun of anybody that has one, but this guy's an asshole. So
yeah, he's the bad guy.
Exactly.
We ridicule the bad guys.
Exactly. We won't pick on victims, but these guys suck. He had a pretty severe stutter, and it never really got cleared up until he went into the military. And when he was a kid, he got picked on mercilessly for the stutter, and kids would call him Willie whenever they saw him. It's kind of like the Willie Picton one, where he had I don't remember what his was, but he definitely had a speech impediment too, where he there was a letter that he couldn't say correctly, and everybody gave him shit for it. And then he fed all those women to pigs, as they would know if they've been listening to your show.
4-part episode, by the way. Check that out.
That's insane. Did you talk about Nickelback though?
Of course.
Okay, good. Just making sure. That's one of my favorite facts. I'm like, anybody's like talking about Willie Picton, I'm like, yeah, Nickelback played there. So he was described as just a pretty polite kid, very courteous, well-mannered. He was a regular at like the FFA stuff that was going on in the area. Anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's Future Farmers of America. Pretty big in the Midwest and up in the Northeast where I'm at. After he graduates from New Madison High School in New Madison, Ohio, he joins the Marine Corps and serves 3 years, of which he had no disciplinary action against him at all. So pretty clean record there. Okay. During his time in the Corps, he rose to the rank of E5 as a bakery foreman. Yep. I couldn't find the designation for it, but yeah, he was the bakery foreman.
Sergeant, we're under attack. What are we gonna do? Hold on. Let me just take the rolls that I just made, stick them back in there. Let's burn them, and we can throw them at the bad guys.
Fix baguettes, man. Let's go. Shit. Um, oh God, I don't know how I didn't make that joke the first time I did this. So during an evaluation, a commanding officer had this to say about him, quote, "If it was in my power, then I would like to promote this man immediately. I would be surprised and sorely disappointed if this SM did not become a command sergeant major. I would
He's a
welcome
cook.
Exactly. He's baking bread and shit, and they're like, "No, let's just put him in a leadership role." I would welcome an opportunity.
Is this like the chain of command from like how you become a Jedi in the frickin' Star Wars sequels?
I mean, you got to think. So he would have been in. So he would have been 10 in 1961, 18 in 1969. So this would have been at the very tail end of Vietnam, where you're like, he probably didn't go, but that's just, can't imagine they're sending a bunch of bakers over to over to fight the Viet Cong.
I'll tell you what, son. You make a really mean breakfast, so we're going to give you a platoon.
Yeah. Charlie's never going to see what happened when you start throwing scrambled eggs at him.
Military intelligence. 2 words combined that can't make sense.
Little Megadeth in there. I like it.
Little Megadeth.
Hell yeah. Let's see here. So he was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps, and he returns back to New Madison, Ohio, and he gets a job at the Hobart Manufacturing Company in Troy. Like many other guys that get out of the military, he missed it, so he wanted to go back in. 13 months after leaving the Marine Corps, he enlisted in the Army, where he attended airborne training and joined the military police. So he went from being a baker to an MP. So
airborne, was he 82nd or 101st?
Didn't say. That was part of one of the things that, like, I really did a lot of digging, and it's like I couldn't find it for whatever reason. I think, if I remember correctly, I think a lot of the times with stuff like this, where once you get out and you start doing like atrocious criminal shit, they're just like, "Oh no, you were airborne, but we're not going to tell anybody like what you were exactly, because we don't want that. You weren't like an easy company, killing Germans or something. You're an asshole, and we don't want people associating you with us."
Well, the 101st and 82nd, I mean, they don't jump out of parachutes anymore. They don't jump out of airplanes with parachutes anymore. They rappel out of helicopters like very, very freaking quickly and everything. And it's called air assault, and that's what the airborne divisions are now. But yeah, and honestly, it's much more effective, because it's like if you're floating down with in a parachute and everything, all right.
That's actually against the Geneva Convention.
It is, but
yep.
But if we're dealing with terrorists, they don't care about that shit.
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't.
So the air assault,
that do.
The air assault is a lot better.
The Canadians have an entire chapter dedicated to them in the Geneva Convention after World War I. It's like, that's a fun story. They would throw canned food into the German trenches. And like once they'd start seeing all the helmets congregating to one spot, like trying to pick up the food and stuff, they'd just start shit whipping grenades in.
Nice.
It's like, yeah, way to go, guys. But I mean, after you get gassed that many times, like, you deserve it. So anyway, he goes back in. He's an MP. Again, model soldier, becomes a platoon leader, platoon supervisor, and he's serving at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where he would meet.
That's 101st. That's the 101st Airborne Division.
That makes sense. So when he was there, he would run into a guy named Michael Lee Platt, who would go on to be his partner in crime here, who was also an MP that was serving there when he transferred in. Matix met his first wife, Patricia, when they were undergoing speech therapy at Walter Reed in 1975, and they got married after he was discharged in 1976. After they were married, Matix moved. After they were married, the Matixes would move around a whole bunch, including to a few other places like Tacoma Park, Maryland, Poughkeepsie, New York, Hyde Park, New York, Toledo, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and Delaware, Ohio. Ohio guy would be the best way to describe that. with all that moving, he has a series of different jobs. He's attending culinary school, which makes sense. He's going to meat cutting school, decides he wants to be an aviation mechanic in training. Apparently he got tired of baking and stuff.
Or pulling people over for, where on post the top speed limit is like 35 miles an hour.
I don't care what your husband's rank is, you're speeding. So the couple was happy, even though he didn't really stay at many jobs for very long. And then tragedy strikes December 30th, 1983, when Patty Matix and another female nurse are stabbed and killed while on duty at Riverside Methodist Hospital Research Foundation.
Uh-oh.
Patty had given birth to the couple's only child, Melissa, less than 2 months before this. So she went back to work pretty quickly. And her coworker, Joyce McFadden, said that she was going to the library to do some research, and at about 4:30 p.m., Joyce was paged over the intercom system to the cancer lab. Less than 30 minutes later, Joyce McFadden and Patty Matix would both be found bound, gagged, and stabbed to death. Patty's wedding ring was missing when they were discovered. So this is one of those, like, it's still an unsolved case. So Matix's wife is murdered, and obviously being the spouse, he becomes like one of the top suspects. So that's how crime works, you know?
Oh yeah, it's always a spouse.
Yeah. They said there wasn't enough evidence against him to charge him. I mean, the more I learned about the guy, you're like, maybe, you know, and they chalk it up to just being just a random act of violence at a hospital in, you know, a lab where you would have to be invited in there or have a card to get in there. I don't know. Little suspect to me.
Maybe.
So not only that, but the same day as the murder of his wife, his father has a near fatal stroke. His father would eventually pass in April of 1984 after battling with cancer for a while, which, I mean, that sucks. But in a 4-month period between his wife and his father's death, Matix traveled between Columbus and Cincinnati 3 to 4 times a week to be with his father for his treatments and all that stuff. And in this period of time, he becomes a quote-unquote born-again Christian and became very involved with his church and started giving public testimony about how his religious views had helped him move past the loss of his wife. I threw the quote-unquote thing in there because he's about to do some very not Christian shit. He did get a life insurance payoff from his wife, Patty, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $180,000, which pissed him off because... between the life insurance and the Social Security benefits, that was...
Wait, what year is this?
1984. 1984.
He got $180,000 in 1984.
Yep.
That's got to be close to $1 million, if not more, now.
So between the life insurance and her Social Security benefits, it was supposed to be closer to $400,000. And they paid him out $180,000, so...
But still...
And that was another reason I'm thinking to myself, he might have had something to do with this. That's a lot of money, you know? So this obviously leaves him bitter. And then he runs into his old Army buddy, Michael Lee Platt, after, reaching out after hearing about the death of his wife, and urges him to move to Miami and come work for him, you know?
Going to Miami.
Yeah. This is the worst version of that Will Smith song ever, including the original.
A1A Beachfront Avenue.
Oh man, I was so excited for that CD when I was a kid. I bought that shit at school.
It's different. It's that little ting. Ding.
Yeah. I didn't rip off one of the greatest bands of all time. I'm just a talentless hack who somehow still gets work doing shit.
Oh, his freaking new metal version of Ice Ice Baby. That's tight.
Is it?
It is. Yeah, check.
I liked him. Did you ever see Ridiculous Six, the Adam Sandler movie? He plays Mark Twain. It was like, that's pretty good.
I didn't see that one, but what was that movie where he became a celebrity because he fucked his teacher?
Oh, I don't remember. I know what one you're talking about, though.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice was in that, too.
Yeah. No, yep. Vanilla Ice played Mark Twain in an Adam Sandler movie,
Okay,
which is
I'm gonna have to watch
incredible.
that. I'm gonna have to watch
Uh,
that.
it's fucking awesome. Like I'm an Adam Sandler fan anyway, but I also like westerns, so you mix the two, and it's pretty good.
I'm gonna
So
have to
let's
watch
hop
that
into
now.
Michael Lee Platt before we get going too much further with the rest of it here. He's born February 3rd, 1954 in San Diego, California. Um, Uneventful childhood, just like our first guy here. His father was, career Navy. His father was a petty officer corpsman, so he was a medic in the Navy. Um, Family lived in San Diego until 1965 when his father was transferred to Pearl Harbor, and he was assigned to a hospital ship. So they moved back to California when his father was reassigned to the Naval Air Station in Alameda. And the family moved again about a year later to Yuma, Arizona, which, if you're not keeping track, Arizona doesn't have a lot of ocean with it, which might make it difficult for the Navy.
A little bit.
But they stayed there until his dad retired. They must have like a medic, like a corpsman training center or something like that there. But Platt graduated from KOFA High School in 1972. He's a 3-sport athlete all through high school, playing baseball, football, and basketball. So that's about the extent of his talent. Directly after graduating, he follows in his father's footsteps and joins the military, opting for the Army over the Navy, which probably pissed Dad off, but, and here's where we crossed the streams for the first time, is because Platt was accepted into airborne jump school right after basic and then was assigned to the military police unit at Fort Campbell, where they met initially. And he would also meet his first wife there, Regina, while he was at Fort Campbell, and they got married on Halloween 1975. In 1977, he's stationed in Korea at Camp Kitty Hawk, which is about 3 miles south of the 38th parallel, which is the DMZ for North and South Korea. Oh yeah, I can just skip that next sentence because I already just said that. I hate when I make notes.
I do that too.
Platt returned to the States in 1978, and he and Regina moved into a house in Monterey, California. And not too long after they moved there, the couple's son was born. Then in 1979, they moved back to Regina's hometown of Miami, Florida. When he arrived in Miami, he began working for his father-in-law, but in 1982, he just kind of up and quits out of nowhere and starts his own property maintenance business called Blade Cutters. At one point in time, it was either Blade Cutters or Yankee Clipper or one of the two, and they just kind of interchanged names or whatever.
Lawn care service?
Yeah. No. Like trimming trees and shit like that.
Okay. Lawn care studs. Got it.
So he's doing that with his brother, and his wife worked as the bookkeeper for the business. Then when Matix moved to Miami in 1984 after the phone call, he's looking for a fresh start. His wife has been mysteriously murdered, and his father just died not long ago. So he hooks up with Platt, and they starts working for him, and eventually buys into the business as the co-owner. I don't know if the brother-in-law was also co-owner or what, but that's all logistical stuff that is really not all that important. But that's just my brain. I have to try to hunt down details because I can't help it. So they work pretty closely together, cutting grass, trimming shrubs, and they become very, very good friends, and they start reminiscing about their time in the Army. December 21st, 1984, Regina Platt is found dead of a single shotgun wound to the head, which is kind of just out of nowhere, Now both their wives are dead. It's ruled a suicide. What's that?
Wasn't me.
It's ruled a suicide, but there's a lot of speculation that she may have had some help from her husband.
The Shaggy defense.
Yeah.
Wasn't me.
And a big part of that is usually, when women commit suicide with guns, they tend to shoot themselves in the chest and not directly in the face. But they also didn't find her fingerprints on the gun. So, speculation. Right. So there was actually a rumor that he had been screwing around with another woman, and then she found out and killed herself. But then again, I wouldn't put it past this guy, what we're about to learn about him, to go, no, I didn't do that, and
wasn't me.
Yeah. I'd hate for you to just like accidentally shoot yourself while you're doing dishes or something. Um, there's some other stories of Platt and Matix going around Miami and just robbing drug dealers at gunpoint for money. Which
That
is
is
the
not a good idea.
no, unless you're Omar from The Wire, because then you can get away with it. But that's a
Right,
great show.
but usually they got people like in the vicinity that got their
Yeah,
back and all that
and it's
stuff
like
and
this is
everything.
Miami in the '80s,
And it's
so
Miami in the '80s with cocaine as king.
uh-huh. Pablo Escobar's got fucking buildings named after him in town.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. So I just recently learned at one point in time he was spending $27,000 a month on rubber bands for his money because he was making that much that when they were rubber banding it together.
I swear, I want to get a drone that has ground penetrating, radar on it or whatever. Send it over, Colombia. I want to find those fucking buckets.
Yeah. So the other problem he created in Colombia was hippos. He brought hippos over. Yeah. And they can't get rid of them.
Hippos in Colombia are like Burmese pythons and iguanas in Miami.
They're actually more dangerous for the environment because something in their feces when they go, it sucks all the oxygen out of the air and it actually like out of the water, and it's affecting fish populations, and that's screwed up the entire like ecosystem. And they're like, if they get into the Amazon basin, this could cause a huge problem, but we can't hunt them because some jackass in Washington D.C. gave them humanship so that we can't just go out and kill these hippos. And you can't tranquilize and remove a hippo because it's the size of a car. And if you don't tranquilize it, it'll kill you. Yeah. So these guys are out robbing drug dealers. They're not doing anything with hippos.
Freaking.
So between 1984 and 1986, anybody that listens to your show from Florida will be more familiar with these statistics than I am. But between 1984 and 1986, there's a number of murders that they've got listed at 3,931. And between 1980 and 1989, that number jumps to 13,640 murders in a 9-year span.
Crack is bad and good.
The city morgues are overloaded with dead bodies, and they actually had to rent out refrigerated trucks to keep bodies in, which is, I think, part of the inspiration for that whole first season of Dexter with the ice truck killer thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Speaking of Dexter, that scene where he goes and he takes his son to a Boy Scouts meeting or a Boy Scouts thing, and then he jumps in his boat and goes off and kills somebody.
Yep.
And then comes back. That's BTK.
Yes.
That is 100% BTK.
BTK and Green River, because he used to bring his son with him to dump hookers.
And Robert Hansen too, I think Robert Hansen.
Ah, dude, Robert Hansen was gross. Like, something about that just makes my skin crawl. Like, I'm going to fly you out here and hunt you.
But the whole Boy Scout thing, leaving and coming back, that's BTK.
Yep, 100%. So in the mid-1980s, somewhere around $2 billion a year worth of cocaine is being shipped into the ports of Miami from Colombia. The city of Miami was the murder and drug capital of the country, and a lot of that had to do with a woman that, this could be right up your alley, would be Griselda Blanco, La Madrina, the godmother.
I know. Cocaine mother. Yeah.
Yes.
I know that story.
Oh, boy. Talk about a crazy ending too for a woman in her 70s. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
So
great. Now we're gonna have to cover that one.
Their first attempt at crime in 1985 is Platt and Matix are running a vending machine company, and they placed a mail order for 10 machines from a guy in Nebraska named Earl Burnett. for a total of $10,000. So about $1,000 a machine.
They're bringing these machines from Nebraska.
Yes, they're buying vending machines from
to
Nebraska.
Miami.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense. That does not compute.
No,
I mean,
but that's not even the criminal part yet.
No, so, it's just stupid.
It's very stupid. But the thing, I didn't realize until I covered Danny Green. In the Midwest, like back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, if you had vending machines anywhere, you had to have some kind of connection to the mob, because they, like, all the unions and stuff for all of that, they were all connected. And if you weren't part of it, you weren't putting vending machines in bars and shit.
Meanwhile, now there's like casinos all over the place in Miami, including one that like a 50-story Gibson Les Paul.
Jesus.
I saw that today, by the way. I see it every day.
So a weird detail was when they contacted Burnett, they told him they were connected to, quote, the local boys, which Burnett was kind of in the same area as I am, where you're like, okay, what the fuck does that mean to me? And he just kind of lets that slide, doesn't think anything about it. He then received, when they received the machines, they're all banged up and damaged, so they send them back, and then they demand their money back. Burnett, it's like, I'm not going to give you a refund. It's not my fault they're fucked up. They got that way in shipping. That's not on me. So in June of 1985, one morning, Burnett is leaving his home at around 7:30 when Platt and Matix approach him and tell him that they're both armed. So they drove to Nebraska to get their money back. Platt is the aggressor in the situation.
Dude!
That's a drive, right?
It's a drive, but that's also a Dexter.
Yeah.
I just made that connection. That's also a Dexter, because he goes after Trinity. He goes after Trinity. He goes all the way to fucking Nebraska. That can't be a coincidence.
I think the author of that is from Florida, right? He's got to be.
I believe so. Yes.
So
that's a freaking Dexter that I never even. I never. Yeah. So why else would they have Dexter go from Miami to Nebraska?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't put that together until you mentioned it, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Oh my God. So they're like trying to like give us back our money, and he's like, "No, fuck you. I don't care if you're armed or not." So Burnett tries to get away, and Platt told him that, "We've been following you for the last 2 days. We know your routine," which you can follow somebody for 2 days. That's not going to be their entire routine, because
no.
You know, so Burnett finally told him that he'd get their money back when the bank opened. But instead he went to Cool's restaurant for breakfast in Lincoln. And he said, like, we'll meet here for your money. And what he didn't tell him is that the place was a regular hangout for the local PD. So Burnett goes into the restaurant, and he runs up to a cop, and he's like, "Hey, these guys are trying to kidnap me. They're threatening to kill me." And the cops, take Matix and Platt outside, talk to them, and search the car. They don't find any weapons, and they let them go. Skedaddle, you rascals. So they then went to a local attorney's office and hired him, and they tried to sue him for slander and defamation. Never made it to court. So they're out $10,000 on vending machines. So the next little section that I've got marked in here is what we're going to call the series of armored cars and bank robberies.
Here we go.
October 10th, 1985. This is where it gets fun. I love me
It's been fun all the way. It's been fun all the way.
I love me a good armored car robbery. So October 10th, 1985, at about 12:25 p.m., Platt and Matix, possibly another man. If it was another guy, it was probably another employee from the groundskeeping company, but they couldn't really confirm a third person. So they pull into the parking lot of the local Winn-Dixie, which is now a Whole Foods, and they sit there waiting. And they case the location for a few weeks, and they learn the routine of, this is when the manager comes in, this is when these tellers come in, this is when the cash truck comes in. That's the important one.
Right.
And they knew that the Wells Fargo armored car would be there in about 5 minutes. just like clockwork, Wells Fargo shows up, pull up in front of the grocery store at 12:30. One of them stayed in the car while the other stepped out of the 1979 Monte Carlo with a 12-gauge shotgun, which is a good combination in my book.
Yeah.
He orders the guard to freeze and he pulls the trigger at the same time. So it's like, hey, don't move. Bam. Just fucking shoots him. And he injures the guard that was outside the truck. Whichever one of them that was in the car fired a handgun and then a semi-automatic rifle at the man still in the armored car. Shit's starting to get a little hot. This is a public place. We should probably not be doing this. So they get back in the car and they boogie with zero money and an injured Wells Fargo truck driver bleeding against the side of his truck.
Oh, wait, they kidnapped? No, they left him. They
were like, hey, don't move, and shot him, and like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that, I guess, and then just started peppering the truck and took off.
Okay.
So first attempt does not work out well.
No.
So we wait almost a month to November 8th of 1985. At noon, Platt and Matix enter the Professional Savings Bank at 13100 South Dixie Highway with a shotgun, a rifle, and a pistol each.
Miami or Fort Lauderdale?
I believe this is Miami still.
Okay.
So they order everyone to get down and they demand the teller give them all the money that the Wells Fargo... They demand the teller give them all of the Wells Fargo bags that were delivered earlier in the day. They had again done their homework, and they knew that the money deliveries came in between 11 and 11:30. The teller gives them 3 Wells Fargo bags with a total of $41,469. They leave the bank, and nobody gets injured this time. So
that's good.
That's good. Unfortunately, the next line in my notes is, here's where things take a turn for the worst. That's what we like to call in the business foreshadowing. January 10th.
A comedy of errors.
Yeah.
Starting up.
January 10th, 1986, a Brinks armored car courier opens the back door of the truck at around 10:30 a.m. and grabs a bag to drop off at the Barnett Bank, which is now Ocean Bank. Which is probably not Ocean Bank anymore because I wrote this like 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, Ocean, I guess that was just a franchise thing because overall, I mean, our listeners don't give a shit about this, but Barnett Bank was absorbed by Bank of America, mostly in Florida, but whatever. I'm sorry.
So this one is actually... this one's fairly close to there because the location for this one is 13593 South Dixie Highway. So it's either just up or just down the road from there. Actually, it's less than a half a mile from there. And no one says anything this time. And either Matix or Platt fired at the guard, striking him in the back with number 7 buckshot out of a 12 gauge. I'm sorry, number 7 is birdshot. So it's smaller pellets, but still it's not going to feel great to get shot.
No.
The guard falls. The other man steps forward and shot him twice more with a .223. Witnesses described an AR-15 or a Mini 14. It's a Mini 14. It's just for future reference through the rest of the story. It's definitely a Mini 14 because that's what we're going to run into again. And the Mini 14 and the AR-15 are basically the same thing. One just doesn't look as scary because it's got wood instead of black plastic. But, so after they incapacitate the guard, they get away with $54,000 and took off in a 1977 gold Monte Carlo. A witness got the plate number, which was XQU157, and this is the stupidest thing that you could have done here. The witness got in his car and followed them.
Not a good idea.
No. When Platt and Matix swapped vehicles into a white Ford truck, the witness fled because he'd been made at that point. So this is... Oh, shit. So this is a very similar, but not the same car as the last robbery. It's the same color, but a couple years newer. And this is because this vehicle was actually reported missing October 4th, 1985, and it belonged to a man named Emilio Brielle, who went missing at an abandoned rock pit in South Dade County after getting done target shooting with Platt and Matix. Crazy, right? I don't know what would have happened there. They did eventually find his skeleton, and he had a couple of 223 holes in the back of his head. I'm not sure how those got there, but that's what was there.
He fell down the stairs.
Yeah, he fell on him in the shower.
Yeah. they were just, I mean, it was his gun, and he was doing it, and the bullets just happened to pop out and land facing up. He came out of the shower, tripped, fell, boom. There you go.
He's like, listen, guys, I've got some information about the Clintons. And the next thing you know, he's dead. He killed himself. I've made that joke enough times where I'm like, eventually, they're going to find me tied to a tree after I've shot myself a half a dozen times and be like, fucker, he knew it. Oh, Jesus. All right.
Man, the Brohios, they covered that whole thing, and they got, like invaded. They got no, they didn't.
I was going to say, wait a minute, hold on here.
No, if you listen to their Clinton body count episode, at the end of it, they do a little bit where you're like, FBI, open up! And then Rob's like, oh shit. And then that's the end of the episode.
Can you give us like an hour to edit this and then upload it, and then you can take us in, please?
Yeah,
they're never going to believe us if you don't.
No, it was funny. I mean,
I guess I'll have to listen to that one.
Yeah, you can't listen to that one and not know that it's a bit, but it's still fucking hilarious.
All right, the next one here, March 19th, 1986, 9:30 a.m. Platt and Matix enter Barnett Bank, the same bank they robbed the Brinks truck the Brinks truck at and shot the guard in January. So it's the same bank twice at this point. This time they go into the bank itself, and they hold it up with a short barrel pump shotgun and a Mini 14, which had also been used at the last robbery. And they got away with a great haul this time. They left the bank with $8,000. And they took off in a 1982 two-door black Monte Carlo. And if you haven't noticed a pattern yet, these guys fucking love Monte Carlos.
Yeah, they do.
Either that or there's just a shitload of them in Miami, and they're like, Well,
they're cool-looking cars.
They are. That's very true. So during the investigation, after everything, they found that the 1982 Monte Carlo had been stolen March 12th, 1986 at the same location as the 77 where Emilio had been killed for his car. Platt and Matix approached the car owner and shot him 4 times. They then stole the car and 2 guns, which was a Smith & Wesson Model 1438 and a Marlin Model 60 22 rifle.
Sorry about
that. Just for a little bit of fun, the owner of the car that has been shot 4 times survived and gave the police and FBI a very, very accurate description of both Platt and Matix, and both stolen guns would be found in Platt's home after everything comes to a close here. So after 4 robberies targeting similar places, and sometimes the exact same place, and a murder attempt, and some other gnarly shit, the FBI finally starts investigating everything. With the frequency and close proximity of the activity, the FBI starts thinking that these robberies would continue in the near future. Obviously, because we're hitting the same place on the same street and all this,
Yeah.
So they instruct local PD to increase patrols around the banks and just kind of do random check-ins and, surveillance of armored cars in the area. With the information collected, the FBI then placed agents of the reactive squad. So these are the guys that are, if you've ever watched anything where they're like tracking drug dealers and stuff, this is what they would call the jump out boys. These are guys just plain clothes. Yeah, exactly. Just fucking hop out and just like throw a Glock in somebody's face. Like, hey, I'm a cop. Are you really though? So they're around all these banks in Southwest Miami in hopes of trying to get even a look of any of these vehicles that have been spotted, involved with the robberies and all that. The men described the car. Okay. So the FBI, I completely fucking lost where I was there. I was like, wait a second.
It happens. Happens to
the
be at least once an episode.
like I haven't recorded in like a month, so I'm like, I forgot how to read. The FBI decides that with all the information that Fridays are the most logical day for one of these heists. The reactive squad consists of 14 special agents under the supervision of supervisory special agent.
Hold on. I'm throwing a challenge flag.
Okay.
Friday?
Yeah.
That's the busiest traffic day of the week.
But it's also the day that everybody gets paid. Back then.
I know. Well, yeah, back then they're. Hold on. Back then, you didn't have direct deposit. So back then, Friday is the day of the week where the bank is going to have the least amount of money.
Unless you catch them as soon as the money gets there.
Aha.
Which is what these guys are trying to do.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so in the morning, it's the most wonderful time to rob a bank.
Yeah. So like, if you were to ever cover North Hollywood, the shootout that they did there, the robbery there, the one that actually sparked the shootout, they had done all their research and like, this is the day where the most people get paid out of this particular bank. So we'll get there as soon as it opens, get in and just get as much of it as we can. And these guys, that's still one of my favorite episodes because just for the simple fact that I got to use a fantastic movie as a reference point, and I got to watch it a couple of times while I was doing it because they used the movie Heat as their base plate of how to do stuff. Oh, such a good movie. Like everything down to like sewing like stopwatches into the wrists of their jackets and stuff. You know,
what movie was that?
Heat.
Okay.
It's Robert De Niro, Al Pacino.
Yeah, I've seen that movie. I don't remember it, but I know I've seen it. I'm gonna have to watch that again.
Fucking awesome movie. But yeah, they when they after they killed these guys and they found the apartment that they were living in, they found like 5 or 6 copies of the movie, including one that was in the VCR still because they'd been watching it. They're like, oh, we have 8 minutes because that's how long they had in the movies. And you know, they would have been fine had a random patrol car not just walked by and watched these 2 giant men with AK-47s walk into a bank. And they're like, hey, we should maybe like do something about that. And they stopped. But anyway, so these guys are under the supervision of Special Agent Gordon McNeil. So previous to the shootout, all 14 agents have been briefed on the robberies and had been informed that the local police had been told the same information, but no local police would be doing any part of the surveillance. They're just doing a 4 patrol in the area of like around like 4 banks. It's like a 55 to 60 block area. So according to my notes, it's about 7.5 mile radius that they're just kind of cruising around and keeping an eye on stuff.
Right.
Friday, April 11th, 1986, 8:45 a.m. The 14 agent team gathered in a Home Depot parking lot. They had a hunch that the robbery may occur that day, so they split off and they start some rolling stakeouts looking for Black Monte Carlos, which is what they've been using recently. And they didn't have any idea who was driving what car at the time. Of the 14 agents on the team, eight of them, so over half of the agents that were on this team would be involved in the shooting when everything kind of goes to shit here. So here's our cast of characters and who they're in cars with. We have Supervisory Special Agent Gordon McNeil, who's by himself. Special Agent Richard Manizuni, who's in a car by himself. So of the 14 agents of the... Well, never mind. So let's go over who's in what car with who, because I got into a lot of logistics with this part of it because I was looking at pictures of like aerial photos of everything when I was doing the research for it. I'm like, it's just a clusterfuck of cars. And like, I don't know who was where.
I don't know why. I don't know why. Just for some reason, something popped into my head when you were talking about these cars and everything and who's in them and everything. I just pictured that on every single one of them, the stereo would be like, "What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Come on, head bob. No more. Come on, do it."
So when I was doing this, my first thought was like, this is like a smaller scale version of the fucking Blues Brothers car chase,
Oh yeah, that too.
So
For the record, audio listeners, he didn't do the head bob. I did.
didn't. I'm too white. I can't dance. The only reason I have any color in my face is because I've had a beer and a half. So, and that's about the extent of my drinking
pressure,
now.
Blood pressure going up.
Yeah. If you'd caught me like 10 years ago, I would have been like 15 beers in by now and just randomly shooting the shit. But so we got our special agent in charge, Gordon McNeil, is in a car by himself. We've got Special Agent Richard Manizuni, who's in a car by himself. We've got Special Agents Ben Grogan and Jerry Dove, who are in a car together. Special Agent John Hanlon and Edmundo Morales Jr. are in a car together. Then we got Special Agent... this one is weird. We have Special Agents Gilbert and Ron Reisner. They're not related, I don't believe, but they have the same last name, so they're like, get in the car. So as the 5 cars of agents canvass the area at about 9:30 a.m., Grogan and Dove spot a black Monte Carlo and start tailing it. 2 other cars of agents join the pursuit at the intersection of Southwest 82nd Street and Southwest 122nd Street. The agents
probably know where that is.
What's that?
I probably know where that is.
Oh, probably, yeah. Shit. So the agents pursued Platt and Matix in the Monte Carlo and rammed the car, causing the Monte Carlo to hit a tree in the parking lot of 12201 Southwest 82nd Street.
You see, I mean, okay. I'm gonna try to paint a picture for you here. I mean, it's just like, I mean, we're talking about like, I mean, there's like nonstop buildings all over the damn place. It's like, never mind. It's like every other big city. I'm sorry, but my, I've been to Chicago, I've been to San Francisco, I've been to Los Angeles. Miami doesn't look like anything like that. And it's just, and when you're talking about like they're it's just like they're causing somebody to have an accident and stuff like that and everything. It's just, there's a lot of room for collateral damage there, the way that Miami is set up. That's like the point. Miami, and Fort Lauderdale, that's like kind of the point that I was trying to make.
No, I get that. I appreciate that, because like I'm not a big city guy. Like, the biggest city we have in Vermont is Burlington, and like you can negotiate your way through Burlington pretty quickly in about 10 minutes with traffic. So it's like there's not a lot going on there.
10 minutes, during certain times of day, you might move 10 feet.
Whoa, God. So when they send this thing careening into the parking lot, it hits a tree and just barely misses one of the residents' Oldsmobile Cutlass that was there, which, like, if that was mine and they'd hit it, I'd have been a little pissed off. But so Agent Manizuni's car comes to a rest on the driver's side of the suspect's vehicle. This kind of leads me to think that Manizuni was the agent that actually hit the car, and then kind of, after it went into the tree, he just kind of rolled up next to it. The car that Morales and Hanlon were in made contact with Manizuni during the chase and ended up spinning out into a lot like diagonal southwest from the suspect vehicle. So he hits them, they hit him, and they kind of fucking spin off into a different parking lot. Before rounds start flying here, to set the stage and put everybody in place, you have Platt and Matix. They hit a tree. They've got a civilian vehicle, a Cutlass and a Trans Am on the passenger side of their vehicle. Manizuni's vehicle is door to door with the driver's side. So the agent's car and the bad guy's car are actually touching. McNeil comes in from the north and parked his car's driver's front fender to the driver's front fender of Manizuni's vehicle. So he came in from the other side and kind of like nosed together with the other guy's car. Grogan and Dove pulled partially into the parking lot directly behind Platt and Matix. And Morales and Hanlon had spun off after the impact, ended up in a lot southwest of there. So they're kind of diagonal from where everything's going on. I'm sorry. The other two agents, the Risner, the other guy's name is Arinta. So there's not two Risners. It's just one. So Arinta and Risner came in from the north, and they parked on the northwest side of the lot. So at this point, these guys have absolutely nowhere to go. They're fucked. They cannot get out of this in one piece.
But they're going to go down trying.
What's that?
But they're going to go down trying.
Oh, they're going to go down swinging for sure. This is where it gets a little hard to follow, because like during the crash, Manizuni's revolver, which like this car has got a bench seat, so he's got his revolver just like chilling out next to him on the seat, and then decides I should hit this car. And his fucking piece goes flying off, and it's under the dash somewhere. So he leans down to pick it up, can't find it, and he looks up and finds himself staring down the barrel of a 12-gauge shotgun from the other car.
I'm staring down the barrel of a 45.
So, doing the only logical thing, he ducks as he was, as the shot takes off. He ends up taking a load of bird shot to the back and to the back of the head. He rolls out of the vehicle and finds cover behind a wall on 82nd Avenue. As he's trying to get cover, McNeil gets to the driver's side car of Manizuni's vehicle and starts firing across the hood at these guys. In the interchange, he's shot in the hand, and considering we're carrying revolvers at this point in time, that's a problem because now he can't reload.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But two of the rounds that he fired hit William Matix. One grazed his neck, and the other one grazed him like in the side of the head and actually knocked him out, which is handy. So we've taken one guy out of the fight, kind of, for now. Hanlon and Morales start across the street to get into the fight, and as they cross, Morales takes a shot to the left arm and went down behind McNeil's car. During the crash, Hanlon had also lost his service revolver. He had his little, he had a 38 revolver, like a throwdown piece, like on an ankle holster kind of thing. It's a little 5-shot revolver. And he starts just chucking shots into this car. He stops to reload, and he gets hit with shots from the Mini 14, and he goes down as well. Arinta and Risner, they start firing it on the suspect vehicle here as well. And when they returned fire, Arinta was hit with a metal fragment from a .223 round that came through the door or the fender, hit the dashboard in the vehicle, and then a metal fragment from there came up and hit him. Grogan and Dove take cover on the driver's side of the car, keeping it between them and the bad guys. And at this point, one of the men, according to the witnesses, it was Platt with the Mini 14, gets out of the vehicle and takes cover behind the Cutlass on his passenger side. Platt moves from the passenger side of the Cutlass. Dove fired a 9mm round that hit him in the chest. And this is like a good shot, but not a good enough shot, because it was about an inch from hitting him directly in the heart. And that would have been, that's it. That's the end of the fight for you. So it actually kind of went through and it hit him. Wait, hold on here. Okay. So Platt is then shot again in the right arm, and from the angle, it's thought that the agent from the angle they think it was Agent Risner who hit him, and it shattered his forearm, which caused him to drop his revolver. Another round hit him in the forearm, except this one went through his arm and into his armpit, and then stopped against the inside of his shoulder blade. So that's not a good shot to take either, because that's, you got your the brachial artery that's in there. If you hit that, that's minutes and you're dead.
You're done.
So that wouldn't have been a fatal shot just from where it hit. So he keeps firing the Mini 14, and he ends up moving to the trunk of Grogan and Dove's vehicle. Not to give this guy credit, but he's firing a Mini 14, which is a kind of heavy rifle. like with his offhand because he's supporting it with a broken arm with the other one. And he's moving pretty aggressively here. And unfortunately, Grogan and Dove didn't realize just how aggressively he's moving. And they're trying to get Dove has got a jam. His pistol's jammed. He's trying to get it figured out and get back into the fight. And Platt comes around the back of the vehicle and he fires one round into Agent Grogan's chest, killing him instantly. And he turns just very slightly and shot Agent Hanlon in the groin, and then swings back around and fires two more rounds, both striking Agent Dove, one in the head, one in the chest. He's dead instantly. Like, he was dead before he knew he got shot. Damn. So at this point in time, we have 7 of the 8 agents are either wounded, incapacitated, or dead.
So these guys weren't playing around.
These guys were not fucking around at all. Like, they were more than willing to get out of here no matter how they can.
Well, now, at this point in the story, it looks like they might do it.
Well, this is where it gets fun. This is where it's going to get fun. So Grogan and Dove are both shot and killed. Platt gets into the vehicle that the agents had arrived in. And at this point, Matix is shaking off the knockout shot that he took, and he's trying to get out of the passenger side of the vehicle. And to make things worse, Hanlon, who just got shot in the crotch, was down directly behind the car that Platt and Matix are now in. Risner continues to fire from cover. Agent Morales is shot and wounded in the left arm pretty badly. And he's been out of the fight since pretty much the beginning. He was like one of the first 2 or 3 guys that got hit. He does not give one single solitary fuck.
What's up at day? This is still we're in the morning, right?
Yeah. This is like okay. What do we say here?
9, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. So about 9:30 is when they first spotted the car. So yeah, probably 9:45, 10 o'clock, somewhere in there.
Okay.
It's like broad daylight. Let's see here. Okay, so Agent Morales here, he doesn't give a fuck that he's been shot a bunch. He works the action of his 12-gauge shotgun one-handed, and according to witnesses and other agents that survived this shit, this guy, who is a cowboy from Texas and a former Marine, fires 5 shells, working the pump and firing the shotgun one-handed. Pretty impressive. He fires through the windshield on the driver's side, and then a couple hit the driver's side front fender. Shotgun runs dry. He stands up and draws his .357 and walks directly at the car.
Did he walk up and say, "Do you feel lucky, punk"?
He had to have said something. He had to have, because he.
Oh wait, that was a 45. Not
that's true. Yeah, it was a 44, yeah. Right? A 44 Magnum.
44. Yeah, 44. Yeah, you're right.
So he had to have said something cool, because he just walks up. He's got a 6-shot revolver. He just fires 3 rounds into Platt, and then adjusts his aim very slightly to the other seat and puts the other 3 directly in Matix. So here's how his shots landed from his .357. Round 1, hit the back seat. Round 2, hit the driver's side windshield and caused a glass shard to hit Platt in the head. Didn't cause any severe damage. Round 3, hit the windshield and fragmented and hit Matix in the face. This was also not a severe wound. Round 4, hit Matix in the face next to his right eye socket. The bullet traveled downward through the facial bones into the neck, where it entered his spinal column and severed the spinal cord.
Ouch.
This is from the FOIA thing. Round 5, hit Matix again in the face. This time the bullet penetrated the jawbone and neck and came to a rest in the spinal column. And this is the end for Bill Matix. He fucking hated Bill Matix. Like, 2 shots in the face, like, get fucked. Round 6, this is the cowboy shit. Morales straight up walks to the driver's side of the car, aimed through the windshield, and plugged Michael Platt in the chest and ended him immediately. He shot him directly in the heart. Like, basically reached through the open window and just fucking bam, and that was it.
And he was to blame.
Yeah. What the fuck, dude?
I got him. Got him. Got him good.
Damn it. I was going to blame it on being in different time zones, but I can't. Like, I'm an hour behind you. No, he's in Florida, asshole. Same time zone.
Yeah, it's 11:11.
So all in all, the gunfight.
11:11. Make a wish.
I wish that I hadn't taken a drink.
When I dropped the Bon Jovi bomb on you.
Damn it. Holy shit. Oh, God. So all in all, this gunfight lasted less than 5 minutes. We have a total of 2 agents and 2 scumbags dead. All of these severe injuries and deaths of agents were caused by Platt and his M14, his Mini 14. Matix was essentially a non-factor in the fight. He fired a total of 1 round, and that was the shotgun blast through the windshield at the first guy. And then he got fucking popped in the head and got knocked out. Of the 8 agents involved, only Agent Risner was not injured, and the only one, and only Agent Manizuni is the only one that didn't fire a round. But that's because he couldn't find he didn't put the seatbelt on his revolver correctly, and during the accident he lost it. So, and unfortunately,
there were no
no bystanders.
Yeah,
That's nope. The only people injured were agents and bad guys, which is impressive because it looked like a pretty residential area. And that's always a good thing to not have, innocent people get killed.
That's insane. With all those bullets flying around, it's just like, and nobody other than the people involved got shot.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, especially like I said at the beginning, it was 200 rounds were fired.
Mm-hmm.
And for nobody else to get hit, that's and Agent Manizuni, the guy that didn't fire anything.
So you might say that lots of bullets flied.
Yes. No, not no bullets flied. All the bullets flied. So during this whole thing, Agent Manizuni is basically on the floorboard of his car because he's in the middle of the gunfight. So he eventually found his revolver, but he can't do shit because he's laying on the floor trying not to die. Which, I mean, you can't give him any shit for that because he's because it's like if I stick my head up, a bullet's going to go through it. Yeah, if I put my head up, one of my own guys could kill me, and I'd rather not do that.
It's gonna be somebody from this side or somebody from that side. A bullet's gonna go through my head if I put my head up.
Yep, and you can't just fire through the door because you don't know who's on the other side of it. You don't know if one of your guys has moved around or whatever, and
right. So he gets a pass.
Yeah, exactly. So between both sides, around 155 rounds are fired total between agents and bad guys. The toxicology reports on Platt and Matix came back with surprising results.
Lead poisoning?
They came back clean, not even aspirin in their systems. They survived severe gunshot wounds and survived longer than they probably should have with no drugs or body armor at all, which adrenaline's a hell of a drug on its own, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Platt's autopsy revealed that his right lung had collapsed from the 9mm round that Agent Dove had hit him with.
I mean, wait, this is 86.
Yeah.
Okay, so PCP was already a thing. They knew about it.
Yep. And cocaine's there.
Well, yeah.
But
we've seen what it does. We've seen what cocaine does to bears and sharks.
Yes. And football players.
That too.
Lawrence Taylor was a fucking menace. So when they dragged this scumbag into the autopsy room, they found 1.3 liters of blood in his chest cavity. So he wasn't long for the world anyway.
No.
They basically said had Morales not just walked up and fucking gangstered him in the chest, he would have died pretty quickly, but he just expedited the process. He paid extra for overnight shipping. To hell. So in the investigation afterwards, most of the blame is laid directly on the lack of stopping power from the agent's firearms. Because like 38s are okay, but eh. And there were a couple agents nearby that had full auto MP5s, which are 9mm. But they were 2 to 3 miles away, stuck in Miami traffic in the morning, so they weren't going to get there at all.
Yeah.
Only two of the agents involved were wearing body armor.
Can we talk a little bit about what the radio conversation with them might have been like?
Oh God!
How'd you get here? I've got these. I'm stuck in traffic.
There's a school bus. I can't go around, and the stop sign's out.
Yeah, and everybody is like watching. You know, the traffic jam that I'm in is because people are slowing down to look at the wreck that's in the opposite lane.
Yeah. And the fact that you guys just wrecked another car up there doesn't help anything because people are rubbernecking there too.
Right. Thanks a lot.
This is kind of your fault. I mean,
yeah,
you kind of asked for it.
Oh, that infuriates me when I'm in a traffic jam and I get up and when I get to the end of it and I see that there's a wreck on the other lane and everybody's just slowing down to look at that after I've been sitting there for 30 fucking minutes.
It's like, just go. Fuck, drive. What's even better is when it's on the other side of the highway. Like, yeah, with a median and they're like stopping and what's going on over there? None of your fucking business. You're going south. Don't worry about north. Just keep driving.
Right. Just keep going. The thing that drives me fucking crazy is it's just like, okay, you can see what's happening without putting your foot on the fucking brake.
Yeah. And keep moving.
Yeah, keep fucking moving. But the thing is just like, and this is one thing that I've realized. It's not everybody doing this. It's the first fucking idiot that slows down.
Yep.
It's the first fucking idiot. That person needs to be flogged on national TV. You know, anybody who's ever done that. You know, what's the first person to like hit their brake so they can gawk because you just cost everybody an hour of time just by doing that.
What's really fun is when the speed limit is 50 on like the main north-south stretch of road through the entire state, and you get stuck behind people all from like the tail end of September to mid-October, tail end of October, somewhere in there, doing 15 miles an hour to look at goddamn leaves. I've lived here my entire life, and
we don't have that here.
I'm like, man, I want to pull up next to you guys and just fucking yell at you, but I can't because I have a child in the car.
One time recently, like a couple weeks ago, I was driving down the turnpike, and keep in mind, I'm in an 18 fucking wheeler. And I'm higher up, so I can see everything that's going on, all that stuff. But on the side of the road, there were two iguanas fighting. Two large iguanas fighting.
I'd stop to watch that.
This fucking idiot like slows down, and I have to fucking hit my brakes, like slam onto my brakes and everything to and I by the time I finally, it's like, okay, I'm not gaining on this chucklehead anymore. I was probably 2 feet away from their bumper.
Oh shit!
And they just didn't look in their rearview mirror. They just, oh my god, there's two iguanas fighting. Let's take a look.
At least pull off. Have the common decency to pull off and do UFC commentary over it,
Oh, the iguana might whip them with their tail.
Ah.
But that semi might kill them.
Yeah, that's less important, right?
Yeah. Oh, iguanas.
I had to hold up traffic to chase a snapping turtle out of the road once.
Well, that's different. You're getting it out of harm's way. That's different.
It was a big son of a bitch. He was like, oh man, tip to butt, probably 3 feet.
That's a
big bastard.
Oh, we got them bigger in Florida.
Oh yeah. I've seen bigger up here, but like that was like, I was like, it's pretty big, especially considering there wasn't really a lot of water around there. Shit. Okay.
Okay, so, hashtag, but I digress.
So 2 of the agents were wearing body armor, but it was only rated for like handgun rounds. So the 223 rounds from the mini 14 just fucking ripped right through those. Like it wasn't. It may as well have not been there. It might have been. It should have been an extra T-shirt or something. So just to recap and run it down one more time, real quick.
Yeah.
Richard Manizuni survives a shotgun blast at basically point blank range to the back of the head and his back. Gordon McNeil survived but was paralyzed after being shot in the hand and the neck. Gilbert Arinta survived and was injured by a piece of shrapnel from a round through the car. So he's like the least injured of these guys because he just took a chunk of metal somewhere. John Hanlon survived being shot in the right hand and the groin, which is not a good place to be shot.
No.
Not speaking from experience.
How's it going, guys?
Yeah. I always told my wife, I'm like, if anybody ever breaks in the house and the only thing you can get is the shotgun, don't aim for the face. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, the pelvic bowl.
Yeah.
Where you want to do that. Just rip that thing off and throw it on the floor. And they'll be dead before you hit the second one in 911.
Yep.
Ronald Reisner is the only agent that survives uninjured completely. I mean, I'm sure he had some shit to work through afterwards, but he was not physically injured.
Yeah, a little bit of PTSD.
Yeah, a little. Just a hair, a little. Just a smidge.
A little bit.
Edmundo Morales, our cowboy, he survived a wound to the left arm.
Muno Morales?
Edmundo Morales.
Oh. Okay. What? I gotta say it because you know I had something. Muno Morales. It sounds like a Denny's entree.
It's a Cuban sandwich with scrambled eggs, which actually doesn't sound bad. Like a breakfast Cuban would be pretty fucking good.
Sounds like a pretty good meal.
So like my first thought with Edmundo Morales, I'm like, I don't know if he's like a strawweight boxer or the backup shortstop for the Marlins, but one of the two. But had this guy been killed, this whole thing would have been a completely different story because he was the dude that put everybody down. Agent Ben Grogan was shot in the chest and killed instantly. Agent Jerry Dove was shot twice. Oh, I'm sorry. He was shot twice in the head. I lied when I said he got shot in the chest. So he took 223 rounds in the head. He was dead instantly, which is a blessing because you didn't have to suffer through any of that shit. William Matix took a total of 6 rounds, including 3 in the face, which good for him.
Yeah.
And Michael Platt got it the worst of anybody. He took 12 gunshot wounds to kill. That's a lot.
He was the Terminator.
Yeah. So for his part in the gunfight, Agent Edmundo Morales was awarded the FBI Medal of Valor, which is the highest honor awarded to FBI agents. In 2001, the village of Pinecrest, Florida, was which incorporated in 1996, honored the 2 fallen agents, Grogan and Dove, by co-designating a portion of Southwest 82nd Street as Agent Benjamin Grogan Avenue and Agent Jerry Dove Avenue. Street signs and historical markers commemorate the names on the roadway.
I've seen it, been there.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I had no idea who these people were.
Well, now you do. Dove was a West Virginia native, and he actually had a road in his hometown of Clarksburg, West Virginia, named after him, where the FBI Criminal Justice Information Service Division is located. And let's see here. FBI Miami field office moved to its new home in Myanmar, Florida, and dedicated the 2 towers of the new office space in memory of Dove and Grogan in a ceremony in April of 2015. And the first
I've seen
floor,
that building. Yeah,
what's that?
I've seen that building.
Nice.
The Grogan building. Yeah, I've
shit.
seen it. It's got his name right there on the. Yeah. Wow.
See, this is why I was like, this would be kind of a cool one to do because, like, I didn't know exactly where you were in Florida, but it was like he drives trucks, so he's probably all over the place, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I'm nowhere. I live nowhere near Miami, but I'm 4 hours away from Miami. But I'm in Miami quite a bit. I was in Miami earlier today.
Yeah, Jesus. I thought I had it bad with my 20-minute commute to work. Oh, so yeah, that's about it, man. That's they do have a small thing in the bottom floor of it dedicated to FBI agents that have been killed in the line of duty, including our two guys from this one. But yeah,
That's
that was the FBI Miami shootout.
that's that that's crazy. That's insane. I mean, yeah. Thanks for doing that.
Anytime, man.
I did not know anything about. I never heard of this before, and I live here.
It's crazy how that works. It's like, but I mean, at the time, like Miami was pretty violent. I think, right? I mean,
Yeah, it was. I mean, it really was back in the '80s. I mean, it was. It's not like it is now. I mean, I'm not saying that crime doesn't happen there now, but it's not. It nowhere near what it was in the '80s. I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah. The Cubans came in and they took care of business. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, they're just like enough of this shit. And everything. I mean, the majority of the people that live in Dade County are Cuban, and they just took they just they just took it back. It's just like,
we've had
it's
enough of
just
this
like,
dog shit. Get out of here.
yeah, no. And I'm not saying, oh, yeah, I'm not saying that Miami isn't like the safe. I'm not saying Miami's like a really safe, like safe city. It's a friggin' big city. They have
Mm-hmm.
their own problems and everything, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was in the '80s. Not even
It's
close.
kind of like like New York City, like back in the the 80s and even like early 90s was real bad. But you
Yeah,
can
the
just go there now and you know.
Giuliani came in, and there was like no crime,
Yep.
and then it started getting bad, but it's still not as bad as it was in the '80s in New York City.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
mean, it's just, and I would imagine the same thing is true with like L.A. Although L.A. has like a lot of gangs,
yeah.
but
Um, like
even today,
I mean, you go to like somewhere like Boston. Like Boston's not. I mean, obviously, yeah. There's crime there, but not like New York or Miami because it's not as big. But
right?
um,
Well,
don't
it's
take
it's
this the wrong
it's
way. But you want to run into some rude people, like go to Boston. They will let you know that they don't like you immediately.
oh yeah,
Yeah, they're. Um, so just as a heads up, that was 12 pages, right? If you ever want to do North Hollywood, I've got that one all done too. That's 21. So we'd be here for it'd be a minute.
it'd be a two-part episode.
Oh, yeah. I think we did that one in 3, if I remember correctly. That was a rough one.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, it's just I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just how how different things were back then, and all that stuff and everything. But what? Ultimately, what cleared all that stuff up? I mean, yeah, the Cubans did have a lot of influence in that. I mean, they yeah, it's just the Cubans owned the city of Miami, Dade County. But and I any any like late 40s, early 50s Cuban women out there might be listening to this. I'm single. But yeah, yeah, Cuban women are gorgeous.
You're like, I am too, but you don't want to come up here because it's fucking cold.
It's cold. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
right now we're sitting at 31 degrees, which is an improvement from yesterday. So,
Let's see, what am I at? 56.
oh no, that
56
must be
degrees.
terrible. You might have to put on a sweatshirt. Damn. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like 31, I'm still outside working in a t-shirt at that. That's start
Actually,
getting
I
down
am
into the
too. I
single
mean,
digits, and it's like it's cold.
yeah. Well, Yeah, we had that conversation last night. Yeah,
Yeah.
wind chill, wind,
Yep. Oh yeah,
wind.
the wind's where it gets you.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I mean, it's just like that type of like movie, like action movie shootout, action scene and stuff like that. That doesn't happen anymore. But the thing about it is, it did happen.
oh yeah.
And it happened as recently as it probably, things like this probably were still happening in the 90s,
Yeah.
maybe even into the early 2000s. I mean,
North Hollywood was like 97.
oh, there you go.
And then I mean, shit. You could look at any given weekend in cartel country in Mexico and see like the aftermath of stuff like this, where it's like, well, I mean, those are a little bit different because it's usually not people shooting back. It's usually just one-sided and very, very, very bad.
Very violent, yes.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess when we give them a bunch of guns, that kind of helps. So,
oh yeah,
like, you got a bunch of ex-special forces guys that are in cartels that are like, they don't give a fuck about nothing, and they just want to make some money.
Yeah.
A little scary. That was a topic that I was like, I am never, ever covering anything with a cartel because there's a lot of reach there, and I'm not smart enough to not be nice about it. So
I don't want. Yeah, I'm not gonna cover Escobar or
Nope.
El Chapo or anything like that. I'm not. Nope, not gonna do it.
Nope.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't
the
be prudent.
closest I got was Adolfo Constanza. He was a
the narco Satanists. Those guys
Yeah.
are dead. Those guys
Yeah,
are gone.
it's like that's not really a cartel. It was more like
That's a cult
than anything. Yeah,
It's a cult. Yeah. So I mean,
that was some wild shit though. Oof.
yeah, they made a movie about it too.
It was Borderlands, I think is what it's called.
Something like that.
Yeah. It was okay.
It was loosely based, but it pretty much did tell the story.
Yeah. I kind of wish they'd leaned a little bit more into the supernatural stuff with it. That would have been kind of fun, but
well, they were trying to make it realistic.
yeah, because I mean, they did a bunch. They did do like the human sacrifice shit, but
yeah, and
yeah,
it's basically it's just like, okay, well, what if this happened? This is probably what happened.
Yeah,
and it was a good movie. It was a scary movie because that shit's real.
Yeah. And that still happens. Like people getting kidnapped all the time like that is that's fucking scary.
You want a culture shock? You drive down I-10 and through Texas, and when you get into El Paso, right across the border is Juarez.
Yep.
That is, it's you want a culture shock? Take a look at that. It's not. I mean, it's two completely different worlds.
And that's also the shallowest part of the Rio Grande River, which is why they come over so easily from there. It's only like a couple of inches deep at that point.
Oh, there's a huge fence there.
Yes, which I mean, considering it's Juarez, it's probably a good thing because, like,
yeah,
that's a danger zone.
Yeah, it's a scary place. But anyway, thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely, anytime. This is fun.
Tell everybody about your podcast again.
Okay.
Where they can find it and all that stuff. And
so it hasn't launched as of recording.
But when this episode airs, it will be out.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. If everything goes good, we'll be out. The show is going to be called History Goon. If you're looking for history and like the kind of sense of humor you just heard here, excuse me, where I take it serious, but not too serious, because if I take it too serious, it's not fun for me. If it's not fun for me, it's probably not fun for you guys to listen to.
Exactly. Hence the the comedy aspect of like history or even true crime.
Exactly. So. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about there is, excuse me, fighting a chest cold still, but a lot of these people I'm going to talk about, there's stuff in their stories where if they were to do a movie about them, they would have to cut it out because they'd go, there's no way that actually happened. You know, there is no way that this man was crazy enough to order a bayonet charge on a group of German tanks and then disabled a tank with an umbrella, which I will get to him. I've already covered him once. I'll do it again. God damn it. But yeah.
Yeah, but you'll do it your own way.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a lot of like.
So, and I just gotta say this. I mean, we're not gonna mention his original podcast name. We're not gonna do that. But if you know who he is, you recognize his voice, you recognize how he tells everything. Yeah, the stories that he's going to tell that he covered on the original podcast, it's going to be different.
Yes.
From the way that it was when he originally told it.
Yep.
He's going to be doing it his way. And at this point, he is solo, although that might change.
Potentially.
It might.
Yeah, there's always room for changing things, you know.
But like I said, I've heard the first episode. I like
it. You're one of I want to say 3 people aside from myself that have heard the first episode, and I've gotten pretty good feedback on all of it. So I'm like, all right, yeah, because I think I picked a pretty good topic for the first one. So like, it's like you got to start off with something good, like really good, but it can't be crazy good, you know. It's like you don't want to set that standard of like, this is what every episode's going to be, is 40 pages of research, which I'm a single dad. I work 45 hours a week at my regular job. I ain't got time for that, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm planning on covering a lot of people that most everybody has never heard of, and a big reason for that is because these are stories that if we don't continue to tell them, eventually you're never going to hear them.
Yeah, you're never going to hear them again,
you know.
And it's important. Yeah, it's important to get these out there because, you know, like we were talking about, like, you know, before we got started and everything. I learned about the USS Indianapolis from fucking Jaws.
Yep. And that was kind of an important ship. I mean,
it was a very important ship. You know, yeah. And so it's really, yeah, the information age. I mean, they've been that phrase has been around since the 80s, but still, it really is now more than ever the fucking information age. And you know what they say: those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it.
Doomed to repeat it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know,
and like, and I'm not gonna pretend I'm not gonna cover a bunch of just like crazy Americans, because that's kind of my ballpark, but I didn't want to go too crazy, like too heavy early on with like all the World War II stuff, because that's, again, kind of my wheelhouse is World War II, World War I. But I've recorded 2 episodes so far. My third one is an American. The first 2 are not. So like, just for a spoiler alert, the first episode I did is Paddy Mayne, who is a crazy Irish bastard that fought in the SAS during World War II.
Great story.
And again, most people have never heard of this guy.
I hadn't.
You know, and then I did some Viking stuff, and then we're doing World War I after that. But and I'm jumping into some other time periods that I've never touched before. Like pretty quickly, I'm going to be doing one. I don't know where I put my books, over there. I just wanted to make sure they weren't in the shot. I'm doing somebody from the Anglo-Zulu War, which I have zero knowledge of. And it's like, okay, well, I kind of ran across this guy in a book, and I was like, okay, he personally seems kind of boring. He did one cool thing that just so happens to be an event that was covered in a Sabaton song that I'm like, that's good enough reason to do it right there.
All right, which Sabaton song?
Rorke's Drift.
Don't know if I've heard that one.
Ooh, that one's good. Yeah.
What is it?
Rorke's Drift.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to. I've seen it, but I haven't listened to it.
And it's like the individual was enough reason for me to go, okay, I'm going to cover this guy. He's not super important. I'm going to just basically focus on the event itself, because it is crazy how people thought that there was any fucking chance that the British were not going to win that fight.
Wow.
It's like, oh, they were outnumbered. You Outnumbered, not out-teched, though, so.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a bit of a history buff myself. I mean, not to the extent that you are, but or those let them fight guys. Um, but no, I love history, and it's great, and it's also great when it's delivered, with a little bit of levity
Yep.
involved. I mean, it's just like if we want to hear the gory details, told by somebody, it's like talking in monotone, well, watch the fucking History Channel.
And I'm not going to pretend I'm Dan Carlin. I want to be Dan Carlin when I grow up, though, because like that dude's awesome. Man.
But no, that was great. I had fun. Socials, go ahead and.
So as of right now, it's just History Goon on Facebook. I haven't done anything else for it yet. As of time of recording, I have 49 members. So go on over and join. Just throw in your search bar History Goon, and either me or Ben will let you in. And just it. If you want a bunch of like real stupid history memes, that's what you're gonna get.
And then the episode links once you
yes,
release,
absolutely.
So
like for example, the last thing that I posted on here was a review of Teutoburg Forest, which was in Germany, and it's got a 1-star review from Publius Quintilius Verus, who made a one-way trip to Teutoburg Forest. 1 star, 0 out of 10, would not go through again. And it's got 225 Google reviews, and I said to this, I'm pretty sure the other 224 Google reviews are just Arminius and his boys laughing.
Yeah, right.
So if you don't know what Teutoburg Forest is, that'll get covered too, because that was a ass handing that the Romans were not expecting. Yeah, and that was when like Rome was still like pretty good, and they they went to the wrong place for that. But
so anyway, thanks a lot for listening, everybody. We and thanks Kevin for coming on, and
anytime.
I'm looking forward to your show. Anyway, you can follow Crimes Codes Close to Beer on and beer on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Definitely hook up our social medias and everything, because it's just like I want to talk. Just like I see other podcasts out there where everybody's involved and everything. I have a lot of listeners. I want to interact with you guys. Come on.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, if you like the podcast, wouldn't you like to, bounce shit off of the host, and, I mean, hell, you can even rag on me. I don't give a shit.
Go right to the source.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, until next time, later.
Bye.
1, 2, 3, 4.